Thanks for joining us for City Council Comments. I'm Steve Erickson along with Mayor Jerry Cook. Today we're talking about both the March 4th and our March 18th City Council meetings. Welcome back to the program.
Thank you.
On our last day of winter, today is the last day of winter. Tomorrow is the first day of spring. And we're fortunate we're missing this snow storm that is heading to our south.
Yeah, they were talking about snow today, and I was a little disappointed. Instead, it's just going to be 40 and blustery.
Okay, it is a little windy, but hopefully some warmer weather on the horizon here with spring in full swing. You know what? We have our plant sale going on, the tree sales annual going on for the next month or so you can still order those trees at wholesale prices.
That's a really good thing to point out because our forester does such a great job picking a diverse range of trees that he thinks will work well here in Coon Rapids. And it's all about diversity of trees because every time we plant all ash trees for boulevard trees, well, that wasn't a long-term good idea.
Right.
And of course, then all the elms went at one time, and so lots of diversity. The tree sale is all on the coonrapidsmn.gov website, and check it out.
Yeah, good prices people are talking about, and there's some native plant kits you can get as well. So it's always a good thing. It makes us think spring here, and that warmer weather is right around the corner.
All the instructions for planting too.
Yeah, and they drop them off in your yard at a certain time. So check that out. All right, let's jump into business here, starting with our March 18th council meeting. One of the first items we want to talk about today is the approval of a contract between the state of Minnesota and the city for the ICWC program. This is something that has been going on now for a number of years, correct?
It is, and it's and I'm on the wrong meeting, but that's okay.
That's okay.
I don't have the acronym in front of me right now, but
I'll check that out.
ICWC is the acronym, but it's basically the minimum. The folks that are being incarcerated, but they're in minimum security. They're least worried about them to be at risk.
Yes.
And they put these crews together. These guys work for like $1 an hour, but they're so excited to get out of where they're staying and do work outside, and it's great. They do lots of mowing, weeding. Just all kinds of different jobs around town, and we take advantage. We've got 2 crews now, and it's a great deal for us. Okay,
so we're kind of renewing our contract for looks like April 1, 25 through March 31, 27.
Yep, 2 years.
2-year contract, and this is the Institution Community Work Crew program.
There you go.
So that's what it stands for.
Yeah, I'm having trouble with technology. I cannot get to my that meeting.
All right, so they will be back doing more, and they do stuff throughout the city, right? And also like city parks and Bunker Hills Golf Course, it looks like.
Wherever we need them, we all of a sudden you just put all this energy at that one project. One year they had a bit of a lull, and they were over helping set up for the carnival, and we were setting up all these things in the one of the tents, and they just came in like ants, and boy, it was like bang, 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 and we were done, and they were gone.
Yeah. There's a lot of work to do over there at setup time for the carnival.
Yeah.
All right, moving forward, Council considered water tower decommissioning contracts and a resolution accepting bids and awarding a contract for the construction of the new Foley monopole. This will be interesting to see the old Foley water tower come down.
Yeah. There's a little bit of nostalgic that goes with that because it's our first water tower, and it's over in that Northdale edition. It's been there for since 50 something, I guess. But it was not adequate sized. Mm-hmm. It was not at the right height. It was creating issues for our other water towers, and it needed to be completely reconditioned. Well, it costs so much to recondition one that we were able to instead build a new one closer to our industry park, larger, and it just didn't make sense to refurbish this one. So it's coming out. However, it does serve a purpose other than water, and that is we rent space to mobile phone companies. So we're taking the water tower down. All of the water lines underneath have to be terminated. It was actually 3 separate contracts. One for decommissioning and dismantling the water tower, one for terminating all of the the plumbing underneath, the piping underneath the ground. And then the third one was for building the monopole.
Okay.
And the monopole is essentially paid back over the next few years by the amount we get for renting space on it.
Okay.
And we've got an agreement with the McDonald's. They're going to shut down for up to a day.
Yeah, I found that interesting.
We're taking that down, well, because it's right basically in their parking lot.
Better safe than sorry.
Exactly. So, yeah, so it'll be a change for that neighborhood, but there's always changes.
Yeah, okay. So that will be coming down here in the next, I know someone was asking when this would happen, and we're talking maybe April, but this all depends on weather, basically.
It's all weather related.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
you might see work over there starting here in April.
Yeah.
All right, but that will be down by the end of the year, and then the new monopole will go up in its place.
I think the end date to have everything completed was November. I thought a date in November.
Yep. All right. Moving forward, Council consider the renewal of a joint powers agreement with the Minnesota Department of Public Safety. This is for Human Trafficking Investigators Task Force. This is something that's been done for a number of years as well.
Yeah, we started this in 2000. I thought it was 2018 was the date, and it was a 5-year agreement, and it needed to be renewed. But we've just been operating as if it was renewed, and now we've done the official renewal, and we've done it for another 5 years. It's a way for us to partner with many other agencies, and human trafficking is such a problem, and you don't, you almost feel like you're insulated here, but we're not.
Right.
I mean, it happens everywhere, and it's very important. They'll set up stings. It's pretty impressive. I remember an employee luncheon down in Public Works one year, and all these guys came in dressed in black, and it was like, what's going on? Well, they happened to be working in Coon Rapids that day on a sting operation, and they all came over for the lunch.
Good timing, doing work, and then they get their lunch.
Yeah, but no, it's a great operation, and it's really worthwhile to renew that partnership.
All right. Council adopted an active transportation plan. This is something that actually people may have participated in, because we had a survey out, I know, at one time looking for feedback from the public.
It's so hard to get people to participate, but they managed to get a couple hundred people, and it responded to surveys and responded to polling questions, and it basically sets our direction for our trails and sidewalks in the future. They did kind of a trial balloon, a trial project along 121st. That was all funded by the state, putting in the bike lanes, and from serious bike experts, we've been told that that's not the way to do it. So we're not going to do that. We're not going to expand that project, but we are going to work on getting our sidewalks expanded and our trails, continue building on our trails.
Okay. I mean, our trail system, I would assume, is already pretty good compared to other communities.
Well, right. We're competing with ourselves.
Yeah.
No, we've got a great trail system. Some of the things that they point out is like the new standard for sidewalks. The really nice sidewalks are 6 feet wide. So as we move forward, we might consider widening our sidewalks. What we certainly need to do is we need to expand our sidewalks. Coon Rapids was developed for everybody to recreate in the streets. We've got lots of parking and driveways and off the streets to keep the streets open so that you can bicycle and you can walk and have plenty of room on the streets. However, as we get this pressure from the state to have more density, all of a sudden it's going to force parking onto the streets, and we're going to have sidewalks done because you can't walk and bicycle safely if you're going around cars and you're out in the stream of traffic all the time. So it's a bigger project, and we approved this last night, and that'll be kind of our model we'll look at.
Okay, going forward here.
Yeah.
All right, that is all we had to talk about on our March 18th council meeting. We're going to jump back now to our first meeting of the month on Tuesday, March 4th. One of the first items there we want to talk about is a resolution accepting a donation of training for the new police department K9. We actually just recently had a retirement, and we're going to have a new team come on board here.
We did, yeah. Mark McDonough was a police officer with Coon Rapids.
Yep.
He became the canine officer and became just legendary at that. And then that became after his police career, he went into training.
Yeah.
And this is actually accepting a donation of training for our new police department canine, which was also donated from a different organization.
Yes.
And right now we are in desperate need because we've got Ike that retired a while back, correct?
Yep.
And now we just had Taz retire,
Yeah.
so they're both living their best lives with their handlers.
Yeah.
But that only leaves us with oh God, is it Gizmo?
Could be.
Who's our mental health dog? Which is not a
it should be Gizmo. Yeah.
I think it's Gizmo.
Yeah.
Which is a great dog for mental health issues.
Yeah, but
and
not our canine.
But it's
Yeah.
not a canine to
Yeah.
work in the.
Right.
You're not going to send Gizmo in after somebody.
Right.
So we need to get another canine on board here, and so we're excited for that. And we're very appreciative of Mark McDonough for donating the training because that's a very expensive proposition.
Okay. So King is the new canine that's coming on board. That's in
King, thank
training
you.
right now. Officer Meng Yang and King are in training. It's about 12 weeks. They do classroom testing, all sorts of stuff. So by my estimation, by about July, they will be ready or done with training, and then hopefully on the streets. And we do have other canines. We're not, even though we have a retired canine, we do support each other in the county, right, with bringing in canines from other jurisdictions when needed.
We have great mutual aid,
Yeah.
and they know what canines are on shift. And if they need a canine, they get one from the sheriff's department, one from Anoka, one from Blaine. I mean,
I believe there's always one on in Anoka County for sure.
Yeah,
So.
and there's always, they know where it's at. And let's go. Yeah.
All right. Council adopted a resolution accepting a bid and awarding a contract for the 2025 full depth reclamation project. This will be in various areas of the city, correct?
Yes.
And this isn't our full street reconstruction. This is sort of some street rehab work, correct?
Right. So this is streets that are in really tough shape, but they're not due for a full reconstruction yet. So we do a mill and overlay. However, most of these streets were done with our thinner asphalt, and you can't mill and overlay that. So they actually do a reclamation, and then they do new asphalt.
Okay.
But there's no assessments to come with it because they don't do the curb and gutter, and they don't do all the other repairs, and it's not a full street reconstruction, with the 2 layers and all that. This is to buy us at least another 10 years out of these streets, kick the can down a little bit before we have to do a full reconstruction.
All right.
And at that time, the properties will be assessed for the street.
All right. This work, I imagine, taking place this summer. All right. Council considered and received a lawful gambling report and authorized a payment to the Community Strength Foundation. This is item number 8.
Yep. So our Community Strength Foundation was started, I think when former Mayor Tim Howe was going off the council, or back then, I think he was part of getting that started. And it's a foundation that basically any donated funds can go through that and then go back out to our programming, such as our concerts in the park. And earlier in that meeting, we had received a $400 check from Community Strength. For our winter concert series, I think that was. But the Community Strength will also write the checks for the fireworks, which is the largest check of the year, for the tree lighting, for the Rockies Pumpkin Patch, for the fall Love My Pet Fair. All of those activities have to have a funding source somewhere, and we don't use the general levy for those. We use the Community Strength Foundation. And the largest supporter of the Community Strength Foundation is from our charitable gambling in town.
Yeah.
And there are multiple organizations. I think there's 5 organizations that have pull tab operations, bingo, e-tabs around town. And a certain percentage, now it's now 7% of their profits come into the city. Most of that's donated to Community Strength. And then Community Strength disperses that for the various activities.
Okay.
Is that where we were going? I think that's what we were going.
That is
for
right.
here.
So you authorized their share of that money, so they got their payment, and then, all those events we talk about numerous times during the year that are happening. So check those out.
Yeah, I think Community Strength last year, they had about $123,000, go in and out for the various events. It's expensive.
Yeah.
But they're very important, and they build such community, and they're so well received, and we got to keep going.
All right, and they gave us a report about, I think in February sometime, they had a whole report on where all the money went. All right, moving forward, we are going to go on to adopting a resolution. This is a lease agreement for new golf cart fleet and GPS units at Bunker Hill. So if you're going to hit the course this spring here, which people will be doing any moment, there will be a new golf cart fleet this year.
Yeah, it's always great to have Tim Anderson, our director of golf, at our meetings to give us the update. He's always very enthusiastic and excited about golfing and the whole program. And we maintain a fleet of 100 golf carts out there. And in the past, I believe we've owned them. And now there's advantages to leasing them. So we're doing a 5-year lease on them. But then at the end, if we choose to, we can buy them for $1. We can buy the lease out. So it's almost semantics whether you're leasing or buying, but it's somehow it's better to lease them.
Yep.
But it's 100, and they have features such as course mapping, geofencing, concessions ordering, and there's advertising opportunities. The total cost of the GPS units, that was the option, is $231,000 over 5 years, and I don't have the total here for the golf carts, but
as I understand it too, these are lighter because there's different batteries or something that make them so much lighter, which prevents damage to the golf course.
Oh, well, battery technology keeps improving, so that would make sense.
There's something with with these carts.
Yeah, and I think typically our batteries are done in 5 years, and that's why it makes sense to replace the golf carts.
Yeah.
And they think they talked about these maybe lasting longer than 5 years, so there might be some...
Whatever the technology is now, it makes them lighter, which prevents additional course damage, which is great.
Who knew we would need a battery expert to come in for this little show here? So anyway, it's exciting, but all of the money for this, the golf course doesn't come from our general levy.
Right.
The golf course is one of our enterprise funds, and it is self-sustaining. So the money that comes in from Kendall's Restaurant, from Bunker Hills Event Center, from Bunker Hills Golf Course, all of that is part and parcel of that enterprise fund. So this money, again, doesn't come out of taxpayers. It comes from the enterprise fund for the operation. So we have to approve the purchases, but that's where it comes from.
All righty. Council considered a letter regarding the potential closure of the North Star commuter rail service. This has been talked about in recent weeks, both at the state capitol, and it was Met Council that came out with an actual letter on this, correct, or information.
You're seeing it in the legislature. You're seeing it at the county. You're seeing it, everywhere.
I feel like we've seen it we've actually seen this probably for the last 10 years, or heard about this for the last 10 years.
Well, right. The North Star on its best day, I think, was still about $10 a rider. What's the word I'm looking for? Additional funding from the public.
Yep. Like a subsidy, right?
Subsidy, thank you, subsidized.
Yep.
And unfortunately, whenever all the businesses got shut down during the pandemic, and nobody was going into the office anymore, the ridership in 2020 just cut off, and it hasn't come back. The trips are down, the riders are down, the subsidy is at well over $100 per ride on the North Star. That's not sustainable.
Yeah.
And everybody knows it's not sustainable.
And it only goes certain times. Like, it's very limited of when you can actually get on the thing.
Yeah. I mean, in its heyday, 2017, 18, and maybe even up to 19, they ran it down to the Twins game, and there was a lot of energy around it.
Yep.
It hasn't come back. It's been 5 years now since the pandemic, and it's just not looking hopeful. Well, there's those out there that say, well, if you just expanded it out to Rice again or to St. Cloud, or boy, when they get that connection with the other train, the Northern Lights to Duluth.
Yeah.
I don't know, and I don't think they've got the patience to wait to see if that's going to play out.
Yeah. Yeah.
So all of that just gets to where what we had to talk about is, as a city, we've made investments and we've made decisions based on that North Star transportation. That we have all of the apartments right there near Riverdale, because it's right next to the North Star station. Yeah. And the whole thing with that transit-oriented development was they were supposed to be able to stay there, get on the train, go to work. So for that, we reduced the number of cars that were required, parking spaces that were required. Also, the Riverdale area, we've got over 2 million square feet of retail space there that counts on transportation for the workers there. Yep. So we're just generated a letter that said, this is important to us, and if you were going to take the train out, we need something to replace it. We need rapid bus service, we need dedicated bus lines, we need express buses, whatever it is, we've got to use that infrastructure where the North Star currently comes to feed all of this, the housing that we have put there, because it's there.
Okay.
I think, yeah.
And I know other cities on this line are doing the same thing, putting out letters and.
Yeah, well, because everybody has built up around this line. They've built up density and made accommodations for that train and for that transportation.
All right, we'll see what happens there. Speaking of trains, you might want to take the train this summer once construction here starts on Highway 10, because that project is going to get underway here pretty quickly. They're actually starting with some prep work this week, and it'll get into full swing here come April. And this is the addition of the third lane on Highway 10 between Hanson Boulevard and Brown Lake Boulevard. And there's going to be some short-term pain for this long-term gain, correct?
Right. They talk about, Mr. Hammer was talking about and defining the projects as 1A, 1B, 2A, 2B as the main intersections of Round Lake, Main Street, and Hanson. And there will be entrance and exit ramps closing here and there. There will be some lane closures. I thought they were going to try and keep Highway 10 at least open one lane all the time.
Yeah, I believe that's the plan.
But there's still so many cars there that when it goes down to one lane, even when it's not a busy time of the day, it backs it up. Yeah. So you're going to want to really pay attention to the project. Yeah. There's going to be days when you're going to want to take alternate routes.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, MnDOT, so you can check out their project website, MnDOT. I'm sure we'll have links and information on the city website as well. They did say that anytime there is going to be a change or a lane closure or one of the ramp closures, there'll be about a 5-day notice, and they have to put out the sign. So I think it's just going to be incumbent on everybody to watch as they travel through the Highway 10 work zone, to be careful, slow down, those types of things, but also watch for kind of what upcoming closures there might be.
Yeah. Particularly if you're traveling Coon Rapids to Coon Rapids, I'm already trying to get myself programmed so that I don't use Highway 10 as that slip. I'll leave Costco and I'll go to get down to Hanson, and I'll just shoot onto Highway 10. And I know even last week they had it down to one lane for something they were doing in the right of way.
Like guardrails and stuff they were doing.
Yeah, but it was guardrails.
And it backed up pretty good then.
Yeah, and it was like, and you go, oh, why didn't I take Northdale? Or why didn't I take Main Street? I have no reason to be here.
It's always when you're stuck in it, you're wishing I did see that last week on, I think it was coming eastbound and I was going westbound. I'm like, glad I'm not over there.
Yeah, I was over there.
And that was like a non-peak travel period. So.
Yep.
In any case, watch for all that. It sounds like they might be starting on the Round Lake Boulevard side of this project, but we'll know more here in the coming weeks. But we just wanted to put that out there, give everybody a heads up that there's going to need some patience on Highway 10.
Pay attention.
The other thing we wanted to talk about were tax statements. Property tax statements were just recently mailed out from Anoka County.
Correct. And if you have, if you've received your property tax and your new value is not something that you think is accurate or you're questioning, now is the time to call our assessor. It's the perfect time. Our assessing department is great to work with, and they will, and they'll explain to you why your value is what it is. We have a meeting coming up. I think it's April
22nd, I believe.
22nd.
Just going to look at that.
21st, 22nd?
No, Tuesday, April 22nd at 7.
Okay. And that is the time when you can come in and ask for an adjustment. That is our a Board of Adjustment and Equalization that night. However, you don't want to wait till that night to question your value. You want to work with the assessor, because if you wait and come in that night, there's nothing we can do because we really need the assessor to look at your property, because then he will present his case, and then we've got all this information to look at, and if a value needs to be adjusted, that night we'll adjust the value. But it's typically based on the assessor's recommendations. You have, if you want to contest that, you can get your own appraisal, but even if you do that, you still want to work with the assessor before that night so that if we need to make a decision, we've got all these things to weigh. Otherwise, when folks just come in and go, I think it's too much, I'm going to have to go with what the assessor said. You know, so.
All right, so check that out. Those were just mailed out. I know they started arriving. That information is also on the county's website, so you can look it up there. And then again, it's the local Board of Appeal and Equalization. Is it appeal?
Yeah. It's not the Board of Adjustment and Appeal.
Yeah, it's local Board of Appeal.
Local Board of Adjustment.
Local Board of Appeal and Equalization. Yes.
That was the word I was missing.
Too confusing. It's too close to the other meeting. But again,
it is.
That meeting is coming up on Tuesday, April 22nd, 7 p.m. in the council chambers. But again, if you have issues or want to discuss your value, it would be good to call the assessing department. I have a desk over at City Hall too, right across from the assessing, and I hear them every spring on the phone going through and walking with people, and they do get a lot of calls. But a lot of times they're able to just explain to you before that meeting. So. Yeah,
and sometimes it's a matter of if they haven't been able to arrange a time to get into your home. Sometimes it's a matter of just walking through the home. You know, and going, oh, we thought these were all granite countertops. We thought, this was updated, and we thought this was updated, and they'll make some adjustments.
All right. So good thing to check out those notices as they come in the mail here.
Yeah.
All right. That's all I got. Unless you have anything you want to add.
I think that's all I've got. We've got one winter concert coming up
Coming up in April,
Yep. And very soon you'll have you just received our Park and Recreation.
Yeah, that came out the beginning of March.
In the mail. And very shortly you'll get the city newsletter, and make sure you'll go through that, look at the dates, look at all the information that's in there.
Yeah, a lot of our normal events coming up. We're in a little lull, but coming up in May and June, we'll hit Summer in the City meetings, concerts, all that good stuff.
4th of July.
Yeah, before you know it. You have a meeting coming up on that. All right. I appreciate you being here today and talking to us. Thank you at home for watching, and we'll see you back here again after our 2 meetings in April.